Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 19 of budget crafting. And today we are going to make fabric beads. I was requested to show how to make fabric beads, so I have some different styles to make here. And this is what we're going to do today. And so I'm just going to kind of set those aside and start with the easiest one. So the easiest one is if you want to make a fabric bead just like your rolled paper beads, you do it pretty much exactly the same way. The only difference that I do is I just kind of, this isn't even cut in a perfect triangle. But the only difference that I do is at the very beginning, I put a paper core. You don't have to, but it gives it a more solid core, so that whatever you're trying to string through there, doesn't get caught on the fabric. So, not that that definitely will happen, but it's a possibility. So to me, the paper is smoother, and that way I don't have to worry about it. So what I do is I just glue a little bit of paper to it, and then just kind of cut up at a bit of an angle because I don't want it to stick out. I go next to this and then cut up at an angle. And then I'm just going to cut that off. And that's an awful big angle. Normally I would just do about like that on each one. So, and then you are just going to roll it exactly the same way as you would roll a paper bead. But now you kind of have a paper core there for your bead. And then you're just going to try and keep it centered as best as you can until you get to the end. And then we're just going to put a bit of glue on there. I could have made this pointy if I wanted to, but really, at least with this piece of fabric especially, it blends right in. So to me, I saw no point in trying to cut a little point on there. I'm going to do the glue exactly the same way as I do with a paper bead. And there we go. You have the same type of bead as you have when you make paper beads. Now I have two other ones here. And then the only difference is, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but this one has been colored with clear nail polish on top to make it just a little bit shinier. This already has sparkle in the fabric, so you don't have to, but it does help hold it together. And, just makes it a little bit more solid, but it has 2 coats of clear fingernail polish, because the first coat kind of soaks in, and then the second coat looks a little shinier. So that's those, easy enough. Next one, which is another really easy one, is a fabric bead. And what you're going to do is you're going to roll a core. You want something to roll your fabric around. And this is just a piece of, to tell you the honest goodness truth, this is a piece of my wedding dress. Neither one of my girls wore my wedding dress, and I really wouldn't have wanted them to. I never actually had it cleaned, so the bottom of it was very not nice. And so I just wound up cutting it up and using the fabric and the tulle and everything else in it that wasn't along the bottom. So what I did was I just took my fabric, I just ripped it into a straight line. I went ahead and shredded the edges, and then I painted it. I think that next week we will do painted fabric, because I was requested to show how I do my different painted fabrics. And so I think we'll do that next week. And then a week or two after that, we will do the boho beads, which I think is the last thing on my bead list. So I got way too much glue out here. So I'm just going to try and kind of, usually when I do these beads, all I do is put it around the bottom and then just a little bit to hold it as it wraps around and goes up. So, and then what I'm going to do is one of these sides, I've kind of combed out the, just with my fingers. I just went through and made sure that my little fringe was all pretty fringy. And that's the part that I'm going to put at the bottom. I think I'm going to cut off just a little bit of that. And what I do with these is I start at the very bottom and then wrap my way up so that the fringe, you You're going to angle your fabric as you go. Just kind of put it a little bit higher. Do it at an angle and it will constantly just go a little bit higher and higher. And then your fringe winds up coming down on your fabric. Now, I want this one just a little bit closer because that brown did not fringe as well. And then you just wind up with a fringy bead. You can do that. You can do it all in one color. You can do it in different colors, however you wish. Like that. And once you get to the top, I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on here. All the way around. And then you can either leave the little bit sticking up off the top, or you can cut that off. And because I did not color the bead ahead of time, since I just did a white bead, I would go in and I would, oh, I think I have a marker right here. I would go in and I would color this, just so that it's not a white bead. Normally, my beads would be the same color as whatever I'm rolling, so that I don't have that white core. And even though I'm not getting rid of all the white core, because I did not sand this bead beforehand to make it real flat, at least it's not just solid white. Now it's got some blue to it and looks a little better. So there we go. So now we have this fringy fabric bead, and I do like the way that these turn out. So that's that one. Next one's so easy too. Nice flat beads that are covered with fabric, and this is just one of the flat cardboard beads that we made, and they also look really cute. That accidentally wound up sitting on top of this, and I liked the way it looked, so I am gonna actually glue that on there. But you don't have to do that. You can also put words on them or whatever you want, and the way to do that is just chop up some little tiny bits of fabric. This is where any kind of tiny bits come in very handy. Excuse me. So, and then I'm just going to smooth the glue out so that it doesn't soak through my fabric real bad. Wipe it off over there. And then just take the bits of fabric and stick them on there. Try and mix your fabrics up a little bit so that, I want the top side though, just so you don't wind up with all the same color, unless that's what you want. My sticky thing is not very sticky right now. And just let it hang over the edges so that you know it's going to be covered. Now, actually, when I cut this out, I will wind up cutting the antenna off. I will cut right along here and right up there. The wire won't be in there. But I was going to do that beforehand, and I totally forgot about it. So, and then if you have some overlap places, you can either put the glue on right this second, or you can go back in and just find any places that might be a little loose and tap a little glue under there after it's dry, which is usually what I do. I try and kind of just put them edge to edge so that there really is not much sticking up. And because they're such little pieces, you really don't want to have, you know, a whole bunch covering up the other piece anyways, because there's not much there to begin with as far as each piece goes. So, whoops. And even though there's just a little bit right there, I'm going to make sure that I get that covered. And then just a couple more pieces here Now here I've got purple, red, and blue all in the same spot. I try not to do that. But since the smallest piece is blue, I'm going to put some more blue here. And then I'll put red down here. Will that cover the whole thing? Not quite. So since it won't cover the whole thing, I'm going to kind of move it over a bit. Find a small piece of purple. And put that one. Oh, if I can get a hold of it. Right there. Now there we go. It doesn't look like much now, but when we're done, when it's all dry, then I'll just go in with a pair of scissors, trim around the edge, and then you'll have a nice covered bead just like that. So that's how you can also use fabric in your beads. So that's that one. And then the three that will take the longest, we saved for last. So let's kind of move this stuff out of the way. These are not hard to do, but the first thing I'm going to do to make this one here is I'm just going to take a piece of fabric, fold it in half. Now the wider this is, the bigger around your tube's going to be. So to me, that's going to be an awfully big tube, and I don't think I want it that big. That one was a little even bigger than I wanted it to be, so I'm just going to cut this down and then just take a take a needle and thread and then just sew right up the long side so you have a long tube. And you don't want to do too big of stitches because we're going to stuff it, so we don't want those stitches to be stretched out. So once you get it sewn all the way across, make sure you have a nice straight line. You don't want it to be all puckered up. And then just put a knot in the end, and I usually put 2 of them. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to turn it inside out. I'm going to kind of cut the corners back, making sure I do not cut my thread. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and kind of fold it inside. And then just use anything. You can put a pin on it. Let me show you that, because my mom showed me this when I was little. Excuse me. Okay, let's see if I can remember how to do it. So put a pin on this end. And then tuck the pin inside. And then what you can do is you can just push the pin, gather the fabric along the pin, which this is a really short piece of fabric, so the pin comes all the way out the other end. But if the pin weren't to come out the other end, just kind of grab it with the fabric and then pull all those gathers down. If you're doing a nice, really long thing, just to show you how to do this, no matter what you're doing, and then push it some more and pull your gathers down until you get the pin all the way out the other end. And then you can just go ahead and pull those gathers down and pull the pin out, which of course now I'm making it way more fiddly than it should be. Get a hold of the other end and just pull it out like that. So there we go, and then take your pin out. Okay, then I'm just gonna take this little skewer and straighten it out. They also make things that like turn tubes inside out, but that's the way I was taught to do it. I think I do have a thing to turn tubes inside out, actually. Okay, so there we go. Now what are we going to do? We're going to just stuff it with some stuffing. If you don't have stuffing, you can wad up some toilet paper, some Kleenex. If you have an old stuffed animal that you're going to throw away, maybe take the stuffing out of it before you throw it away. And of course, I got a really small tube here, so it's a little bit fiddly. Probably should have done a bigger tube to show you on video, but that's all right. Okay, I'm almost to the other end. And you can make it as tight as you want. If you want your bead to be kind of soft, you can just, you know, stuff less, just enough to give it shape. If you want it to be, you can make them really solid if you really stuff a lot of stuffing in there, and they'll be pretty hard. So there we go. So now we have our bead, and I'm just going to put a knot in the end. Whoops, to put a knot, just take your string, bring your knot around your finger and put it back between there, and then just roll those together and pull that down. And that puts a knot in your, I'm going to put the knot on the inside, which this is going to get a bead cap on it, so it's not that big of a deal. But then I'm just going to kind of gather it up a little bit. You can just go across and across. You can go around. You can do it however you want to close it up. You just don't want that stuffing showing. Push it down with my skewer. Give it a pull. And there we go. That's closed up. And like I said, it doesn't really matter exactly what it looks like because we're going to cover it with a bead cap. But we do want to pull it together to keep the stuffing in, keep the stuffing hidden, and just to, you know, keep the form of our tube. And then just quickly do the other end, which got folded down in there a bit. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to just leave it folded down in there. Whoops. It doesn't work if you don't put a knot in it. There we go. Just kind of go around the edge a little bit. Like that. There we go. And then put a knot in it. Make sure you keep it pulled tight while you're knotting it. Cut that off. All right, I'm going to set that aside. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of wire. And we're going to want to put a loop at the end of each end of the wire. So I'm going to cut it longer than my bead by a bit. And then I'm going to, there we go. First thing I'm going to do is fold this sideways at an angle just like that. And then take your pliers, grab it out at the very end of the wire, and then just start bringing it around. Then you can turn your pliers if that's easier for you. It is for me. We're going to bring that end of the wire right over to the crook of that bend. So in that way, it kind of puts your loop right at the middle of your wire. So there we go. Now we've got that. Straighten this out. We're going to go right down. Right down through the center. And of course now it's going to catch just because we're doing this on video. Oops, good thing it caught. Forgot to put the bead cap on. Now I had chose a really big bead cap, which is too big. So let's find a smaller one. Just gold ones are pretty. That's a little bit small. Looks like those three are the same. I don't want copper. That's pretty. I think I like that better. Excuse me. I just have this terrible tickle. And of course, did not bring excuse me, did not bring any water or anything with me. All right, and before we even put that on, we need to put a couple beads here on the end. So I'm going to grab some beads and look through those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right here so I can go get a drink of water, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I grabbed out a couple of little beads. This is like a large seed bead. So we're going to put these on here first. And I do apologize. I put a hard candy in so that hopefully that will help me not keep choking. But I saw Sonia Steptoe making some wooden beads. And this is how she decorated them. Like this. Except, you know, like this needs some more decoration on here. But I just thought that they were so gorgeous. They're just very regal looking to me. And so I thought, well, I was making these stuffed beads, and I thought I could do that with the stuffed beads. And I think they turned out really, really pretty. So maybe one more, maybe a dark colored one. And I think that looks pretty good. So let's call that good. And get these out of the way so I don't spill them. Okay, and now we're going to try and push this through here. Which I did not have a problem. It's just gathered together, so it should not be a problem to get it through the middle there. But I should have, you know what? I'm going to grab a pokey tool. I kind of poke that in there. See if that helps. It's getting stuck on the fabric or something. I'm catching the string or something, which didn't happen before. There we go. Okay, now it's made its way through. We're going to get to the other end and hopefully... Whoops, see, it came out the side, so we know where it's at. We'll just kind of move it over until we get to the top. And because it's a wire, there we go. You know, it... Oh, and look at what I did. I forgot to put the bead cap on it. And you really need that bead cap. It, you know, covers up all of your strings and everything. And it's just what really gives it the finishing touch. And these bead caps all came from eBay, from China. They take forever to come. But that was back when Papa used to like to shop for things that were really cheap. So we bought lots of little bits for the craft room. So there we go. We've got that. And now, you know, the wire's a little bit bendy. But once you get it all together, you can straighten it all out the way you want it. So let's put another bead cap on the top. And I don't want to squish it too hard. And then just a bead or two at the top. And then the thing about this is, you can go in afterwards and take your needle and thread and sew little seed beads on here. Or sew some fibers on here, or just wrap fibers around it. You can turn it into a wrapped boho bead. Let's find something for the top. Okay, so we've got the blue at the bottom. Do we want to do blue at the top, or do we want to do like a pearl or something? I think I want a crystal. So we'll put the turquoise crystal and a clear one. That looks pretty. It's still quite bent, so we're going to close it up and then straighten it up. So again, take your wire and give it a, I believe that's a 90-degree angle. Don't know. Used to know. Alrighty, and then this is a little bit long for my loop because you just want your loop to come back over and meet there. And I'm not going to make a huge loop, so I'm going to hold your finger on the wire so that it doesn't go flying. And then I'm just going to come in here, start at the end, curl it. I like to flip my pliers over because that just makes it easier for me to hold on to, and wrap it right around till it meets the bend. And there we go. So now we can go ahead and straighten that wire out and then put a little charm, which I forgot to pull out charms, so but put a little charm at the bottom, and they're just really, really pretty. And then put a piece of the part of the thing that I think makes it look so elegant is the silk ribbon. And this is not silk. This is just, you know, cheapy whatever from the Dollar Tree or Walmart or something. But just give it a nice length. And then pin it together at the top. And I'm just going to use this silver pin. You can use bulb pins or whatever you have. I have to decide how I want to do it. Kind of want to cross it over a little bit like that, and then come in from the back like this. And there we go. And you can decorate that pin up however you want, and the bulb pins look cuter. But I even just thought that just the pins themselves I thought look cute, and the ribbon just sets it off. So that's that one. Now we just have a couple more to go here, and they're both kind of the same. So we'll do this one real quickly because this one is got the bead caps on it. I'm not going to worry about turning over the edge of the fabric. I'm just going to sew around the circle. On the other one, really either one of them, it doesn't really make a difference. You don't have to turn the edge over. We're going to make I'm just going to sew around the circle. And I'm trying to think of what they call these. All I can think of is button, but that's not true. But this is a type of a little fabric item that they make. Why can't I think of what a yo-yo. This is called a yo-yo. And a lot of times if you're doing something where you've got finished work, you turn the edges over as you're sewing, which we'll do on the next one so you can see that too. Because if you sew around it like this without turning the edges over, you wind up with the raw edges on the outside. And usually a lot of times you wouldn't want to see that because you put them together and, you know, you can use them to make a quilt or, you know, whatever you want to make with them. And you don't want to see this raw edge sticking out. But being that this one is going to have a bead cap on it, to me, I don't care if the raw edge is there because I'm going to cover it up with a bead cap. So you're going to just go all the way around the circle like that, any size circle, and then we're going to stuff that one. So again, we're just going to take some of our stuffing and stuff it inside there. Excuse me. I just have this tickle that I've had, I'm going on a year now. So I'll be getting rid of it. I'll be going to the doctor for it soon. Okay, so there we go. Now we have a little puffball, which this is what reminded me of Sonia's wrapped wooden beads. So I'm going to make it kind of ballish instead of flat. And then I'm just going to put a knot in my thread. Just to hold it all together. And then cut that off. And there we go. And you can fiddle with them a little bit more, you know, when you take your time. I'm hurrying a little bit, so it has a few extra wrinkles in it, but that's okay. It's got its own character that way. So again, we are just going to make a wire to put on it. Just like that. And then I always start through the sewn part, because then I know I'm kind of in the middle, and then I just look up at the top, kind of figure out where the center is. Just kind of push around a little bit to see where you think the center is before you push it through, and then just push it through your fabric. Oops, but you don't do that. First thing you do is you put some beads on it. Then you put a bead cap on it. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to start off with some little beads. So let's see. We're green. So let's see. Now these are medium seed beads. A regular little seed bead, usually this wire will not fit through. Trying to think. This little green pearly bead I think would be pretty. There we go. And then I do like the crystals. I think it just sets them off, but whatever it is that you like, that's what you put on it. So, no, I don't think I want a square one. And I don't want a teardrop because, where's my little thing? A teardrop would have looked good if I would have put it on the bottom maybe, but I didn't do that. So I don't want to put a teardrop in the middle. But you can, because you can do it however you want. And I just pulled that real hard, and I pulled it right into my loop, so I need to close that loop back up. There we go. And then let's go with just a, ooh, not clear. Let's do like this kind of champagne color. There, I like the looks of that. And then the bead cap. Don't forget the bead cap. Now this one you want a little bit of a bigger bead cap to cover up your sewing. And if you kind of need to go in and trim it down just a little bit, you can do that, but make sure that you're not trimming any of your thread or the whole thing's just going to pop right open. And if it does, you just sew it back shut again. So, and I will be right back with you in just 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, but the studio is open now, so excuse me. Studio time is by appointment, and I was expecting a call, so I needed to take that call. Okay, so now we've got a bead cap there, and then a couple more beads, and I think we'll do like a small champagne color, and then maybe a large one and a small one. See how that looks. if I can find the hole. There we go. Oh, I like that. Then it's got a pop of color on the bottom and it's more muted at the top. All right, so then we are just going to, I'm going to kind of push it down just a little bit so that I can get my fold on here, and that will keep it tight. I'm going to definitely cut some of that wire off. Grab your wire at the end. And bring it right back to your fold, and there we go. And then straighten it up a little bit, straighten your wire up. Okay, and then put our really pretty ribbon at the top. And again, a charm at the bottom would be pretty. That's why we have the loop on the bottom. But I forgot to bring a charm, so we all know what charms look like. And put a pin. Take a little gold pin. Even though my bead caps are silver, there's no reason you can't use a gold pin if you want to. And I want to. So there we go. And there's that one. I think that those are just really precious. Thank you, Sonia, for showing how to put those together, because even though hers were wooden beads, and that's the thing, when you see something, you don't have to do them the same way as everybody else. You put your own spin on it. And then the very last one, oh no, there's two more. I missed one. Okay, this is going to be kind of a long video. And I'm going to need to thread this. Couldn't find my thread. It's right here. But yeah, just put your own spin on what you're doing. And if you look at something and think, oh, you know, that's way too fiddly, I would do it like this. You don't have to do it the fiddly way. Do it your way. Just like I said, you could add like little seed beads around the edge of these tubes. The blue one we just made. I haven't done that yet because I haven't felt like it. That is one of those kind of fiddly things. And I do those kind of things whenever I feel like it. If it's going to make me frustrated, then I'm not going to do it right then. And there are times I really enjoy sitting down and doing that type of thing. I cannot get this threaded. You know, you're not supposed to lick your thread. Doesn't mean I don't do it all the time, but you're not supposed to. And oh, if I put my glasses on, maybe that would help. Okay, like you really want to sit here and watch me do this. I thought I had enough thread to complete the whole project already threaded on the needle, just for this reason. Because I am terrible at threading a needle. Okay, we're going to do a walkthrough of this one. Okay, because it's the same as the other. We're going to make a yo-yo, but instead of just going around the edge, we're going to fold this over a little bit and go around the edge like this. And when you get to the point where it's flat, just fold it over a little bit more. And just keep doing that. Just keep folding it over. There's no perfection to it. You know, you're not trying to, you know, it's not going to be totally like a round edge. You know, the edges will be a little bit different, but that's just how you do it. Fold it over about 1/4 of an inch, go all the way around and stuff it just like we did that one. Just don't stuff it quite as much. Okay, so then this is our yo-yo. The open part is in the back on this one, and it's nice and flat. So then what I did was I stamped a piece of fabric and glued it to put a paper clip on it and glued it to the back just to cover that up. So now I could actually just use this paper clip and hang it like a bead on a chain, or I can put it on a journal or anything else. And so first thing before I glued the paper clip on was I just sewed a bead right on the middle, and then I just went ahead and just sewed some dangles to put on the bottom, which is you just come through with your needle and thread. Just come through your bead just like this, and you just have to make sure that you have beads that will fit onto your needle and thread. Just come through, put all your beads on, leave the last bead, go around the last bead, and come right straight back up through the rest. Come out the back and tie a knot. So, and then once you put your little dangles on there, then just glue your paper clip to the back. That gives you a loop at the top. And if you don't want that, you can sew a jump ring to the back. You can glue one of those necklace bail to the back, or you can just glue it onto something, because they're really just cute. You could even put a pin on it, and it would look like just a pin for your lapel, and that would look really cute. I apologize for not actually sewing that one, but like I said, that is literally just a yo-yo flower, just like this one, just not stuffed as full. And then you decorate it however you want. You could go beads all the way around the edge, lots of beads in the middle. And this one, I had this scrap sitting over there from last week, I think. And so I just, when I sewed the bead on, put a little bit of glue there and set those down, and then sewed the bead on top of them, just because I thought it was cute. Alrighty, and then finally, the last one is you can have stamped fabric beads. Now this fabric's just white, but you could have colored fabric. And all I did was I found a nice small sentiment, or a small like pattern or something, so that it, you know, shows up on your bead. And so I just took a little piece of fabric, frayed both ends. What I did was I made sure that the fabric was a little bit longer than my bead. And then I pretty much frayed it on both sides till it was about as long as my bead. And then I frayed the end so I would have this left over. Now I'm going to stamp it right above the fringe, because that's the part that's going to show. Hopefully I put enough ink on there. I wasn't paying attention to getting the ink on it. I'm going to just hold it there for a second to let that ink soak into my fabric. And there we go. And then we're just going to, here it is. Couldn't find my glue. We're just going to glue it on. And again, you've got and with this one I wanted a white core because I've got a white bead. So, but we're just going to start a little bit of fringe on each end. And then before I put any more glue, I'm going to go all the way to the other end to make sure that it looks like it's pretty straight. And it does. So then I'm just going to put some glue on it. You don't need a ton. Whenever you're gluing fabric, you don't need a ton of glue, because a lot of times it will soak through your fabric and then it will look not so nice. And I'm just going to roll it right to where that fringe is and stop. Just because I like that fringe hanging off the edge. And now we've got fringe on this end and we've got fringe on this end, so that that bead core doesn't show. And there we go. Now we have a stamped bead, just like this one. So those are the different types of fabric beads, except for the one. I do apologize for that, but I think that I think you've probably got the gist of it since we just made a yo-yo right here. But these are the different types of beads that you can make with fabric. And you know, the sky is the limit. You can make beads so many different ways. You can just make things up. These ones I made up, and I made them up because I saw Sonia doing those wooden beads. And I thought, I had just made this one, and it looked like one of those wooden beads, and I thought, wow, that would be cool. So, you know, it's not like, and I'm sure somebody else has probably done something like that before, but what I'm saying is when you see something in your head and think, oh, that would be cool, go ahead and do it. So I used to like look around through the internet to try and find if anybody had done it before to give them credit. If I see something, if I see somebody do something, I give them credit if I'm copying them. But I don't go looking to see if anybody's done it before because that's really not why I did it. I did it because it popped into my head. And so, you know, like I said, there's nothing that's totally new. But there we go. Those are some fabric beads that you can make with your fabric. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.